Hi, welcome to Real Life Alexa. I'm Alexa, and today I'm going to be talking about this book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. This is by Marshall Goldsmith with Mark Reiter. I'm going to hold that up. You can see that. I will put the info in the notes as always. I did a video a few weeks ago called A Haircut and a Book. And that book was Economic Facts and Fallacies. And that one, I've probably been reading that for the majority of 2024. I'm not entirely sure when I started it, March, May, I don't know. But I read one chapter at a time, and it's a very, very data heavy, beefy sort of book. And there's a lot of stuff to challenge these common misconceptions that we have about society and the economy and things like that of that nature. So I chose to read a chapter at a time and then give myself time to really think about and process what that data was. This book is a little different, but it was that video that made me think, well, this is actually something I could talk about and should talk about and share. If these things have been impactful in my life, they could help other people. I believe I've mentioned a book called Smart Brevity. That is from, I want to say they are the founders / creators of the Axios website. My caveat on that one is that they could have taken their own advice with that book and cut about half of it out. However, the key points that they are making in this new digital age where we are basically programmed to read 240 letters or less and then lose attention and move on to the next subject. That book has a lot of interesting stuff in it, and I have actually implemented a ton of it into my professional work emails, things that I have to send out, conversations, making sure that I have the ask at the top. This is the thing I need you to know. This is additional information you might want, but if you know the answer to this question that I need the answer to, it's right at the top. You don't have to read the rest. That book is great. So that one is called Smart Brevity. But again, caveat, they really could have taken their own advice and cut about half of that stuff out. This book, I must have been 2017, but it could have been any time from probably 2015 to 2019. But I want to say it was 2017 when I read this book. And I read it in a book club at work. And the whole premise of this is that we as humans, we attribute any success we get, especially in our career, to the work that we did. I did this and I earned it. So a really classic example is I applied for a position and I got it, right? I did the work and I got the position. If we don't get the position, a lot of the times we blame it on something external. Well, they didn't understand or see my resume, or the recruiting software threw my resume out before it got to people, or oh well, they said the job was this, but obviously through the interview process it's not even what they said it was. It's always something external when we don't get what we want. And that's a really easy example, but you can actually do this and see this in little things like working on a team project whose ideas get picked, whatever. If we have one of these habits, or possibly more than one of these habits, and when I say habits, I genuinely mean you have to do this. This is something you do all the time. If you read this book, there is a list of 20, and then they do give a bonus one. But there's a list of 20 habits. And sorry, I had the page and I just lost it when I put the book down. We all do these habits every once in a while. Every single one of us does this. Okay, you'll read this and you'll start getting paranoid that you do all of these things. You don't. Almost. It's very highly improbable that you have all of these bad habits. You might have one or two of them. So take it with a grain of salt. However, that doesn't mean that if you catch yourself doing one of these, you can't adjust while you're in the middle of a conversation with someone and change your tact. But just to give you a little idea, the first one is winning too much. When you need to win at all costs, you are making other people feel like they're stupid or irrelevant or not valued. And especially when it doesn't matter, like if there's a task to be done and there's 4 steps to it and you can do the steps in any order you want, who cares if someone else is doing them in a different order than you, as long as the end result is the same. If you need to win at all costs, you're going to harp on until they do it the way you want them to, even though it doesn't matter. That's going to cause issues, right? This one, number 5, this one drives me nuts because I have worked with people where this is absolutely it doesn't matter what I was saying to them. It could be something as simple like, hey, I think you should take your breaks. You're entitled to them. No, but, or however would be the first words out of their mouth. No, because. But that won't work because. It's so frustrating. And if you get into management, if that is something that you would like to do, management is not about the numbers on a page, right? Like, yes, you have to keep track of productivity and work that people are doing and what's going on, what's coming in, what's going out, all of that stuff. But I'm going to get myself off track here. But if you look up leader versus manager, there's a whole thing there about what it actually takes. Being a manager is much more about being a people person and a coach and helping with everything human that we have that comes up. That's what it's about. And when you're in a position where someone on your team is saying these, you have to find ways of communicating with them to get around these initial reactions. Now, I will put a caveat on this one for me. So when I was in some of my worst times in my life, it didn't matter what people said to me. Everything was doom and gloom. And I probably almost certainly used no, but, however, like, well, I'd like to, but I can't. Like, I probably used it too much. I am hopeful. And if I were to do a 360 feedback kind of exercise where you basically ask people around you to give you feedback, both if they report to you, if they're peers who you work with, if they're people in higher leadership positions than you, I would hope that that one is not something that comes up for me anymore. Number 7, speaking when angry. So we all reach our limit. And I think I have one example on the tip of my mind all the time. It was a few months after I had become a manager. I got into the position and a change came down and nobody liked the change really. And there was nothing I could do about it. It was not my decision. And though most people we listened, my manager listened to everyone. Like, at the end of the day, this change is happening. You have to get on board with it. Several months went by and one person was just not on board with it. And I'm not kidding. They brought this up in every team meeting. Even if we were having an amazing team meeting, everyone was happy, they'd bring it up and instantly the attitude of the entire team would just crumple. And they said this on the wrong day. And I reacted as a human, as a person, and not as the manager, right? And I think about that all the time. I was very upset and I know I hurt some feelings that day. And I think about it a lot. And it has been something that I have kept with me. Because even if it's not a habit of speaking when angry is one of the most sort of damaging things you can do. So that one, you're going to have your own examples for sure. If you read this book and you're going through these, speaking when angry, we've all done it. We all know it. What matters is how you then proceed from there. Number 8 goes back with the no, but, however, because it's negativity. You'll let me explain why that won't work. Number 12, making excuses, right? Number 15, refusing to express regret. I genuinely regret certain things that have happened in my life. I mean, that one example I've just given that still plays on my mind, and it's been 8, 9 years, something like that. Failing to express gratitude. It's so easy to think that you're telling people, hey, I appreciate you. Hey, I saw you do this. It was a really good job. I have been very consciously over the past, 5 years, making it a point to call out all the little things. I will occasionally have meetings where I'd say, listen, I want each of you to tell me something that happened this week that was good. Tell the team, did you have a coworker that did something good? Was a good interaction with a client, right? Like, I want to hear these good stories. I want to see what's going on. And I'm so grateful for my team right now who are on board with it. And they are also not afraid to speak up and say to me, hey, just remember the good stuff too. If I'm having a bad day, they will actually echo stuff back to me that I say to them, like, you've earned your PTO. It's yours. You don't need to feel guilty about taking it. They'll say that back to me. They'll say things back to me, which is such a good feeling that they feel comfortable and trust me enough to do that and to bring up tough topics with me. And so I have definitely 100% thought about this book probably once, at least every 2 weeks, if not every week, something in this book, the message of it, for the past, since I read it. That's 8 years, 2017 to now, about 8 years. By implementing the changes that I saw in myself that needed changing. Now, there's a lot of things that were not in this book that I've also done, similar to taking, I took control of my own self, my own career pathway is my responsibility. There's nobody else's responsibility. It's mine. And once you realize that and you know it and you start thinking about where you want to go in your life, you can start thinking about what would I need to get there? And maybe I can't do this today, but what could get me to this step? So whenever something came up at work, an opportunity, and I had 2 jobs at one point, so it was at both jobs. Whenever there was an opportunity, I would ask myself, does this look good on my resume? Does this give me something like a skill to practice or learn or work with someone that I want to learn from? Does it give me something personally? And does it give me something very specific to this position and then being promoted from it, right? And I would ask myself, what are those things? And if it was something that could help any of, I think I had 3 things that I was very much a checkbox. So the resume, personal, and then within my current role. If it was yes, and I had the time and the capacity to take on that additional work, whether it was a part of my job or whether it was something external, whatever it was doing, I would say yes. If it wasn't giving me one of those 3 things, I would pass on it. Because you have to be clear with your no's, just like you are with your yeses. Because if you're not clear with either, you're not clear with both. And by saying no to certain things, it allowed me to focus on those that I wanted to learn, to gain something from, to help myself move forwards. So along with that, communication is the absolute backbone of our humanity, of us, of people, of every interaction we have. It's communication. This book, very much the habits, they're super, super tied in with communication. So if I do have anything in terms of what I could give to people, communication and learning how to be better at interpersonal communication, things like conflict management, which I might do a video on because that one is one of the most sort of mind-blowing, like, why didn't I know this before kind of light bulb moments when I was studying that. I'm not the best at it. I'm good at it. I'm way better than I was. And it's something that communication is lifelong. You will always have something you can learn in terms of communication. In terms of helping yourself, this book, I might not agree with absolutely everything in the book. I mean, it's very rare that we do agree with everything people say, but the premise of this book and the eye-opening nature of, like, you could have had this promotion 6 months ago, a year ago, if you weren't doing, I don't know, number 12 or whatever, right? Whatever number it is that your habit is, your bad habit is. It's tough to look at yourself and say, I am doing something wrong. It's so tough to do that. I get that. But if you are able to actually, honestly look at yourself and say, I am doing this, and I don't like that I do that, and I know that it's holding me back from being my best self, and by being my best self, I then can be reaping more of the rewards in work and whatnot. The work can be difficult. The work can be very rewarding. And the more difficult the work is, the more rewarding I found. It feels so much better when you have a win on something that you've been struggling with. So that is this book. Again, I will put a note down below. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I didn't give you the whole list of bad habits. I didn't want to, there's a lot more to this book than just the list of the habits. It does have some strategies on how to overcome that. And it also gives you some of the information on what other people might feel when you perpetuate using that bad habit or doing that bad habit. So yeah, I have kept this book. I've downsized my bookshelves. I don't feel the need to keep books. I have several that I do keep, and this is one that is in my keep pile, and there's a reason for it. So I hope you like this video. As always, if you made it this far, thank you. Drop a like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you on the next one. Be kind to yourself.